Hello, everybody. It's the Red Bull talking about the true Native Americans in the Americas. For some reason, there seems to be some confusion as to what the true Native Americans in the Americas look like. As we can see, some of the Native Americans here depicted were dark, very dark red, almost to the point that they could look black. But there is one key feature that they all shared that distinguishes them from their cousins in Africa. This undeniable feature is their beautiful straight hair. Today, we will be revisiting the descriptions of the Native Americans recorded by early explorers dating back from the 14 to the 1500s. 100% of eyewitness accounts state that they had straight hair. Even though some of the Native Americans had short hair, it was still recorded as straight. But none were recorded as having woolly, tight curly hair, dreadlocks, or African type hair. Since skin color is debatable and many different people groups had many shades of different skin color, we will be concentrating and honing in on the description of the Native Americans' hair. Christopher, Pero, Amerigo, Cabeza de Vaca, Hernando, Jaques, and Cortez are only six of the famous explorers that came to the Americas and recorded the description of the Native Americans they encountered when they came to America. Christopher states that the hair of these people is coarse like a horse's tail, short. Arda records that their hair is very black and very long and they go naked, graceful of body. Mundo states that they are tawny color and have straight long hair. Nunez states the men have long hair like women, very straight and black. Hernando says they have long hair down to their waist. And Cortez states they are dark skinned with very straight black hair. In my opinion, I did not see any description from any of these early explorers that would lead me to believe that these had African type hair. As we can see in these next few pictures, there are dark people that aren't of African descent. They do not have woolly type hair. They have straight hair, like the images that you're seeing in front of you. Let's take a closer look at Christopher Columbus's journal of 1492. Their hair is not curly, but loose and coarse like horsehair, and all the forehead is broad, more than any other people I have hitherto seen. Their eyes are very beautiful and not small, and themselves are far from black, but the color of the Canarians. Here we have the texture of a horse's tail, and here we have the Canarians. This is what the indigenous Canarians actually look like. I'm not sure what's causing so much confusion, but the Native Americans of today check all the boxes of all the descriptions from all early explorers from the 14 and 1500s. In the same journal, Columbus also states they are not black like the Ethiopians. Skin color and hair texture were inseparable racial markers, and to say they were not Ethiopians implicitly means not African in hair or form. Christopher never used words like linazo crispo or como lana to describe the hair of the Native Americans, but he did use woolly, tight curly, and like wool to describe the hair texture of the Africans. And even today, you could use those same words to describe the African American hair of the African Americans that are in the Americas today. Columbus also stated they have coarse hair, almost like the hair of a horse's tail, and it is short. From what we can gather from all these journals is that some Native Americans had short hair, others had long hair down to their waist, but all early accounts state that they had straight hair, as recorded by all 1400 and 1500 early explorers. Although we all have subtle differences, we should all come together and celebrate our differences. It's not cause for division. The fact of the matter is that Native Americans, the red man with straight, coarse hair, has always been here. That can't be debated using early accounts from the 14 and 1500s. Vasco da Gama also agreed that they had long hair, straight and slightly wavy, often oiled and well groomed. Balboa era descriptions also note that they wore their hair long, sometimes loose, sometimes tied, occasionally shaved, and sometimes with ornaments. As a comparison, Balboa also reports that the people of Darien were well formed in body with long hair which was worn loose. Early explorer Gonzalo Fernandez states that they had long black hair, smooth and straight. 1500s, during the Balboa era, the indigenous people of Panama were described as having long, straight black hair, explicitly not woolly or African type. 1500s, Cabral was exploring Brazil, and he also identified the people as having straight, long, very black, smooth, flowing hair. The Portuguese used the word corridos to describe the Native Americans' hair as straight, smooth, and flowing. Literal English translation is their hair is straight. So yes, they described the Brazilians as having straight, long, black hair. It is also very important to note that Amerigo Vespucci also identified the indigenous Americans as having long, black, straight, explicitly not curly hair. Unfortunately, Magellan did not record or identify any characteristics of the Native Americans' hair. Unfortunately, Cortez himself did not leave a journal describing the Native American hair, but we are told that two of his contemporaries did. Diaz states that their hair is often tied and braided in ornamentation, while Lopez states had black, long hair, very straight, and wore it tied and ordained with feathers and ribbons. A French explorer by the name of Hawkes, while exploring Canada, did leave a description of the indigenous people, and he states that they had black, long hair which they wore tied or hanging over their shoulders. The same explorer describes the Africans as having curly and woolly hair. He also noted that the Native Americans used their hair as a sign of social and ceremonial identity. Explorer De Soto also did not leave a journal, but the people he encountered are described in contemporary chronicles. Soto era, Mississippi Valley, Florida, Georgia, and Alabama. As described, the men and women wore their hair long and black and straight and shiny and sometimes tied up and ordained with feathers. In this day and age, it's easy to be fooled by AI images of so-called Native Americans having woolly and tight curly hair. But real photographs from that era and documents and journals paint a whole different picture. It is unfortunate that we don't have the journals of Francisco, but we do have the journals of his cousin Pedro and Leon and Fernandez. Pedro states the Indians of Peru had black, long, and straight hair which they wore loose or tied up in cords with cotton and adorned with feathers. Leon states that their hair was black, straight, and very long, ordained with feathers and ribbons according to the rank of ceremony. I hope this is starting to paint a clear picture as to who the real Native Americans are in images and in documented accounts and journals from all early explorers in the 14 and 1500s to the Americas. During the Pinda era, hair is completely unmentioned. Cabeza de Vaca left a detailed first-hand account in his famous book, The Relaction. It states they wore their hair black, long, straight, and shiny hair, which sometimes was tied and ordained with feathers. Everyone had straight hair, not curly, very black and long, both men and women. Although skin color can be debated, the key identifier here to identify the true Native American red man that are natives to the lands of Americas is the hair. As I've shown, all early explorers from the 14 and 1500s identify the Native Americans as having straight, long, black hair, like a horse's tail. Furthermore, I would like to extend a challenge to anybody who has a different perspective on who the true Native Americans were. And I would like you to post in the comments any books or journals or literature that dates back to the 14 or 1500s that states that the Native Americans had woolly, curly hair.